Václav Koudelka is a Czech scholar of religion and anthropology who completed his bachelor's degree at the Faculty of Arts, Charles University in Prague, within the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies. His academic work focuses on the intersection of spirituality, counterculture, and contemporary communal movements. In his thesis The Spiritual Dimension of the Rainbow Family of Living Light Gatherings, a religious studies analysis, Koudelka combines ethnographic fieldwork with theoretical perspectives from religious studies to explore how spirituality is practiced outside institutional religion. His research reflects both academic rigor and personal engagement, as he participated directly in rainbow gatherings to observe rituals, interview participants, and understand the community's lived spirituality. Through his work, Koudelka contributes to the study of modern alternative spiritualities and the anthropology of religion in Central Europe. The bachelor's thesis, The Spiritual Dimension of the Rainbow Family of Living Light Gatherings, a religious studies analysis, by Václav Koudelka from Charles University in Prague, examines the Rainbow Family, a global neo-hippie movement centered on communal gatherings promoting peace, love, and harmony with nature. Using anthropological fieldwork and interviews, the study interprets the group's shared spiritual elements, rituals, and worldview. It reveals how the rainbow gatherings express an alternative, ecospiritual form of spirituality that opposes materialism and hierarchy, symbolized by Babylon, through ideals of unity, love, and respect for the earth. The thesis portrays these gatherings as living laboratories of a countercultural utopia, where participants temporarily create a harmonious community embodying the principles of modern alternative spirituality. In the introduction, Václav Koudelka defines the aim of his thesis as a religious studies interpretation of the rainbow family of living light, focusing on the shared spiritual elements and practices expressed during its communal gatherings. He explains that the rainbow family is a global, countercultural, and spiritual movement rooted in the 1960s hippie tradition, emphasizing peace, love, freedom, and a return to nature. The introduction outlines the author's methodological approach, qualitative anthropological research based on participant observation and semi-structured interviews, which allows him to explore how participants experience and interpret their spirituality in everyday life. Koudelka situates his study within the broader field of alternative spirituality, drawing on theorists such as Zuzana Kostikova, Walter J. Hanegraaff, and François Gautier. The introduction concludes by framing the work not just as an ethnographic description, but as an analytical contribution to understanding how the rainbow family embodies wider cultural movements that seek spiritual meaning beyond institutional religion. In the personal relationship to the topic, Koudelka reflects on his personal connection to the rainbow family and explains why he chose to study this movement. He acknowledges that research on such a deeply experiential and community-based phenomenon requires personal engagement and openness, since the rainbow gatherings emphasize authenticity, emotional expression, and shared experience. Koudelka admits that his initial interest stemmed from fascination with the movement's ideals of peace, love, and harmony with nature, but during his fieldwork, he became aware of the challenges of balancing participation with scholarly objectivity. By revealing his own background, values, and motivations, he situates himself transparently within the research process, recognizing that his presence inevitably influenced the data he collected. This reflexive approach strengthens the study's credibility by showing that the researcher's experience is both a source of insight and a potential bias to be critically managed. In Methods of Field Research, he describes his qualitative approach to studying the rainbow family through anthropological fieldwork, specifically participant observation and semi-structured interviews conducted during multiple gatherings across Europe. He immersed himself in daily activities, helping in the kitchen, attending rituals, and joining workshops, to gain an insider's perspective on the community's spiritual life. Koudelka details the ethical challenges of working within a countercultural movement that rejects bureaucracy and technology. Obtaining written consent was impossible, so he relied on verbal agreements and handwritten notes while ensuring the anonymity of participants. He followed ethical standards set by the UK Association of Social Anthropologists, emphasizing transparency, respect, and non-harm. The chapter also clarifies terminology, explaining key rainbow concepts such as main fire, talking circle, focalizer, and food circle, and provides a brief overview of secondary literature used to contextualize his findings within religious studies and anthropology. In the history section, Koudelka traces the origins of the rainbow family of living light to the 1960s countercultural movements in the United States, particularly the hippie and New Age scenes that sought peace, spiritual freedom, and a return to nature. He explains how dissatisfaction with consumerism, war, and rigid social structures led young people to form alternative communities grounded in love, equality, and communal living. From this environment, the rainbow family emerged in the early 1970s, holding its first official gathering in 1972 as a celebration of peace and spiritual unity. Over time, these gatherings evolved into an international tradition, spreading across continents while maintaining core principles of non-hierarchy, anti-materialism, and connection to the earth. Koudelka also highlights the movement's self-created mythology, known as hipstery, which blends oral storytelling and spiritual myth, especially the Hopi prophecy of the warriors of the rainbow, a sacred narrative through which members see themselves as agents of planetary healing and transformation. In What is Rainbow? He defines the rainbow family of living light as a global, non-hierarchical community without formal membership, leaders, or institutions, united instead by shared ideals of peace, love, freedom, and connection with nature. He describes how the community's identity is expressed through its gatherings, temporary events held in remote natural settings that serve as both sacred and social spaces. These gatherings are structured around traditions such as the central fire, food circles, and communal rituals, which embody values of cooperation and equality. Koudelka explains that the space itself, isolated from modern society, or Babylon, is vital, symbolizing a return to purity and simplicity. The goals of Rainbow, he notes, extend beyond communal living to a broader spiritual and social transformation, aiming to model a utopian society rooted in harmony with the earth. Through these practices, Rainbow becomes both a spiritual experiment and a lived critique of mainstream, materialistic culture. In the subsection on community, Václav explains that the rainbow family of living light functions as a loose, non-institutional community bound not by formal membership or hierarchy, but by shared values of love, equality, and togetherness. Participants view one another as brothers and sisters, referring to the collective as a family rather than an organization. This family model emphasizes emotional openness, mutual care, and cooperation instead of authority or rules. The rainbow community rejects social hierarchies and power structures, relying instead on voluntary participation, consensus-based decision-making, and collective responsibility. Koudelka shows that the sense of belonging arises from shared experiences during gatherings, especially rituals, collective meals, and daily cooperation, where individuals temporarily live out ideals of harmony and unity. In essence, the rainbow community represents a lived experiment in egalitarian coexistence, where spiritual and social bonds replace formal systems of control. In the subsection titled Space, he describes the physical and symbolic importance of the natural environment in rainbow gatherings, emphasizing that space is not merely a setting but a sacred arena where the community's ideals are enacted. Gatherings are always held in remote natural areas, forests, meadows, or mountains, far from urban life, reflecting the movement's rejection of modern civilization, or Babylon. The site must meet both practical and spiritual conditions, such as access to fresh water and the establishment of core structures like the main fire, kitchen, and shit pits, natural toilets. The main fire, kept burning throughout the gathering, symbolizes the heart of the community and serves as a ritual and social center. Through activities like cooking, singing, and ceremony, participants transform the natural landscape into a sacred communal space that embodies ideals of purity, simplicity, and harmony with the earth. Koudelka interprets this spatial organization as an expression of the rainbow family's eco-spiritual worldview, where the environment itself becomes both home and temple. In the subsection Goals, the author explains that the rainbow family of living light organizes gatherings not just as social events but as expressions of a deeper spiritual and transformative mission. The rainbow community believes that their collective practices, peaceful coexistence, ritual prayer, and living in harmony with nature, can contribute to healing the world and initiating a broader spiritual awakening. Many participants hold millenarian beliefs, viewing rainbow as part of a global shift toward a new era of consciousness, sometimes linked to ideas like the Age of Aquarius or the Hopi prophecy of the warriors of the rainbow. These ideals merge spiritual renewal with social critique. By rejecting hierarchy, consumerism, and violence, Rainbow seeks to demonstrate that a utopian, egalitarian society is possible. Thus, the gatherings serve as both spiritual laboratories and social experiments, where participants temporarily create and embody the kind of harmonious world they hope to bring into being. Rainbow cosmology, shared spiritual concepts, explores the key spiritual ideas that shape the worldview of the rainbow family of living light. He explains that rainbow spirituality is not a fixed doctrine but a flexible, experiential system built around several recurring concepts: duality, energy, love, heart, the Great Spirit, and Mother Earth, Pachamama, which together form a kind of lived cosmology. Central to this worldview is the dualist holism between rainbow, symbolizing purity, nature, peace, and freedom, and Babylon, representing modern, corrupt society. The community seeks to restore harmony rather than destroy the opposing world. energy and love are seen as universal forces that heal individuals and the planet, expressed through rituals like chanting Om or communal circles. The heart replaces the mind as the true center of wisdom and decision-making, promoting intuition and empathy over logic. Meanwhile, reverence for the Great Spirit and Pachamama reflects an eco-spiritual belief that the earth is sacred and alive. Together, these ideas illustrate how rainbow participants experience spirituality as a holistic, emotionally grounded, and environmentally conscious way of living. Subsection Dualist Holism explains that the rainbow family of living light views the world through a symbolic dualism between two opposing realms, rainbow and Babylon. Rainbow represents harmony, freedom, love, nature, and spiritual authenticity, while Babylon symbolizes the modern, materialistic, and hierarchical world dominated by consumerism and social control. However, this dualism is not absolute. Koudelka emphasizes that the goal of rainbow spirituality is not to destroy Babylon but to restore balance between the two worlds, reflecting a holistic vision of unity and healing. Drawing on the work of Zuzana Kostikova and Wouter Hanegraaff, he interprets this worldview as an example of holism, a key principle of alternative spirituality that seeks to reconcile opposites and achieve a state of harmony or wholeness. Through this framework, rainbow gatherings function as temporary utopian spaces where the imbalance of the wider world is symbolically corrected, allowing participants to live, if only briefly, in a state of ideal equilibrium between spirit, community, and nature. The subsection on energy discusses the central role of the concept of energy in rainbow spirituality, describing it as a universal life force that connects all beings and sustains both physical and spiritual existence. Drawing on theories of alternative spirituality, he explains that this energy is often perceived as something that can be felt, transmitted, or healed through intention and ritual practices. Within the rainbow family, energy is closely intertwined with love, forming a unified principle of harmony and transformation. Positive, loving energy is believed to heal individuals, strengthen community bonds, and even contribute to the healing of the planet. Koudelka contrasts this with negative or chaotic energies associated with Babylon, conflict, ego, and materialism. Rituals such as chanting Om, dancing, and the food circle are designed to circulate and purify energy, creating collective well-being. By emphasizing the flow of positive energy, the rainbow family turns spirituality into a lived, bodily practice where harmony is both a moral and energetic state, a tangible experience of unity with others and with nature. In the subsection on love, the author presents love as one of the most fundamental and sacred concepts within the rainbow family of living light. He explains that love is viewed not simply as an emotion but as a transformative spiritual force that sustains both individuals and the community. Love is expressed through everyday actions, sharing food, helping others, caring for nature, and through ritual practices such as the food circle and collective chanting, where participants channel love as a healing energy. It is seen as the highest moral principle and the ultimate path to peace. Only by responding to conflict or negativity with love can cycles of violence and division be broken, both within the group and in the wider world. Koudelka also notes that in rainbow discourse, love and energy are often used interchangeably, reflecting their shared role as positive, life-giving forces. However, while energy can be neutral or even negative, love is always understood as inherently good and creative. Through this ideal, rainbow gatherings aim to manifest a living example of a compassionate, harmonious society built on unconditional love as a spiritual and social foundation. In Heart, Koudelka explores the rainbow family's belief in the heart as the true center of knowledge, intuition, and spiritual decision-making, contrasting it with the rational, analytical mind associated with Babylon. Within rainbow gatherings, participants are encouraged to think and speak from the heart, meaning to act with empathy, sincerity, and emotional awareness rather than ego or logic. The heart is viewed as the channel through which divine guidance or the spirit communicates, especially during collective rituals like the talking circle, where open, non-judgmental sharing is seen as healing and spiritually authentic. Koudelka describes how this principle shapes interpersonal behavior. Conflicts are diffused through compassion and harmony, sometimes symbolically healed by communal chanting of Om. This emotional openness creates what he calls a taboo of positivity, a cultural norm discouraging negativity, argument, or aggression. Ultimately, the heart represents the moral and spiritual core of rainbow life, embodying unity, healing, and the intuitive wisdom that sustains the community's alternative, love-centered worldview. The Great Spirit and Pachamama examines the two most prominent divine figures in rainbow spirituality, the Great Spirit and Pachamama, Mother Earth, who embody the movement's syncretic and eco-spiritual worldview. The Great Spirit, inspired by Native American traditions, represents a universal divine intelligence that connects all life, guides human destiny, and manifests through natural signs such as rainbows, animals, or celestial events. Pachamama, drawn from Andean cosmology, personifies the living earth as a nurturing and sacred being deserving of reverence and care. Both deities symbolize the unity of spirit and nature, reinforcing the rainbow belief that healing oneself and healing the planet are inseparable acts. Koudelka highlights how songs, prayers, and rituals, especially around the main fire, invoke these figures to express gratitude, seek guidance, and reaffirm ecological respect. Through the fusion of indigenous spirituality, New Age cosmology, and countercultural ideals, the Rainbow Family constructs a living theology in which divinity is immanent, nature is sacred, and spiritual connection is enacted through communal harmony and care for the earth. Ecospirituality explores how the Rainbow Family of living light embodies a deeply ecological form of spirituality that merges environmental ethics with sacred practice. Drawing on thinkers such as Arne Naess and James Lovelock, he situates rainbow beliefs within the broader movement of deep ecology, which rejects materialism and anthropocentrism in favor of viewing the earth as a living, sacred organism. Within rainbow gatherings, this worldview is expressed through rituals that symbolically unite personal and planetary healing, such as the food circle and chanting Om, where participants affirm harmony between the individual, community, and cosmos. Acts like building altars from natural materials, singing songs to Mother Earth, and maintaining cleanliness around the camp are understood as forms of devotion. Koudelka notes that for rainbow participants, ecological care is not just a moral responsibility but a spiritual duty, rooted in the belief that the well-being of the planet and the human spirit are inseparably linked. Thus, ecospirituality serves as the moral and ritual backbone of rainbow life, transforming environmental awareness into a sacred, lived experience of unity with nature. In the analysis and discussion section, Koudelka interprets his field findings within the broader framework of contemporary alternative spirituality and religious studies theory. He shows that while the Rainbow Family of living light shares many characteristics with the New Age movement, such as holism, ecospirituality, and belief in personal transformation, it also preserves uniquely countercultural traits, including communal living, non-commercialism, nudity, and an anti-systemic ethos. Koudelka argues that rainbow spirituality operates not as a fixed doctrine but as a performative and experiential system, where shared rituals, songs, and daily practices collectively create meaning and reinforce spiritual unity. These gatherings function as temporary utopian societies that model harmony, equality, and ecological awareness while providing participants with a lived experience of transcendence and belonging. By comparing rainbow beliefs and behaviors to academic concepts of millenarianism, syncretism, and social cohesion, Koudelka concludes that the Rainbow Family exemplifies how spirituality can serve both social and integrative functions, fostering community and moral order in the absence of institutional religion. In the conclusion, Václav Koudelka summarizes that the Rainbow Family of living light represents a unique form of lived, communal spirituality that blurs the boundaries between religion, culture, and social experiment. He concludes that rainbow gatherings function as temporary utopian spaces where participants enact ideals of peace, love, equality, and harmony with nature, offering an alternative to the hierarchical and materialistic structures of modern society. Rather than adhering to fixed dogma, rainbow spirituality is fluid, experiential, and performative, grounded in shared practices like rituals, songs, and collective care. Koudelka emphasizes that the values and cosmological principles he observed, such as unity, healing, and reverence for the earth, exist only for the duration of the gatherings and dissolve afterward, reflecting the movement's cyclical, impermanent nature. Ultimately, the thesis portrays rainbow as a microcosm of contemporary alternative spirituality, a living attempt to reconnect the spiritual and the ecological, the personal and the communal, in a world often fragmented by modernity.